Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to World of Wrestling. Uh, Here today to discuss this wonderful hunk of shit that felt like I was watching it for 5 hours instead of 3. It's called Monday Night Raw for WWE on May 18th, 2020. This is your review. Folks, if you missed Raw, again, you didn't miss much. This is a very, very boring show. I mean, this is beyond belief. We kickstart the show with Orton coming out. But before Orton is even brought out by Charlie, I forgot her last name. Charlie goes ahead and goes on to mention that this could be the best wrestling match ever, which is a load of shit. I don't know why they keep throwing this out there. I don't know why they keep bringing up that this is going to be the greatest wrestling match ever. Seems to be the gimmick or subtitle for this matchup, that it's going to be the greatest match ever. I find that completely disturbing. So Orton comes out, says the WWE's World Wrestling Entertainment, basis being wrestling. Sorry to tell you, Orton, but this isn't a wrestling show, more of a circus than anything else. You should have went to AEW instead. That's quite honest in my opinion. So Orton states that Edge has doubt and fear to face him in a wrestling match. After hearing this, Edge comes out to respond. He states he had his doubts, but he believes it's all a game that Orton is playing on him. He says that wrestling wasn't Orton's first choice, but he did. Edge made wrestling his first choice. Edge's delivery on this promo was with a lot of intensity. Only wish that this was the type of Edge we got last week. I think that would have made that segment last week very memorable and wouldn't need this to take up about 10-15 minutes of airtime. Not that the show was any good anyway. Probably this was the best piece on the entire show. The rest of it was bland, boring, or just over-the-top, ridiculous bullshit. So, at the end of the day, did I like the segment? Yes. Did I like what they are doing to build up towards it? Not really. I think the way they are doing this is ass backwards. So I'm not a big fan right now of it. I like the idea that you get to see Edge in a wrestling match, which should have been the case at WrestleMania. This shouldn't have been a last man standing match. It's a little ass backwards in my opinion. So they recap of what happened with Seth Rollins, or what Seth Rollins did to Rey Mysterio last week, which we all know he buried his fucking eye in the corner of a steel ring steps and cut his eye open. So Seth is backstage with Buddy Murphy and tells him he had a revelation. He states he wants to go tell the world that. So Seth comes out with Murphy to state his revelation. He states that you have to lose yourself to find yourself. He also says you can't have dark without light and vice versa. He says he thanks Rey for last week. Rey was a sacrifice and was for the better good. Nothing in this segment, folks, made any sense. I didn't quite get what the fuck they were going with. Here, with Seth Rollins, he just sounds like he's lost his fucking mind. Then Humberto Carrillo, the loser, comes out to stand up to Seth Rollins. Rollins respects him for standing up for Rey Mysterio, but if he's looking for a fight, he can have it with Murphy, even though he has a match with Aleister Black tonight. Apparently, he's doing double duty. Sucks to be a disciple to Rollins, apparently. So Murphy and Carrillo, they have their match back from the commercial break. This match was very short. It was an okay match, but distraction by Rollins cost Carrillo, and Murphy hits his finishing maneuver and the win. After the match, Murphy tries to attack Carrillo, but Black comes to the rescue again. Really, to be honest with you guys, I'm very sorry, but I would like to see Aleister Black be a heel, not a face. This face run has run its course. I think it's time. He's been a face for quite a while now. I think it's time to see how he can do as a heel. I think he probably could do a lot better as a heel than a face. Just my opinion. Leave your comments down below on that one. Backstage, Corbin is complaining like he is some kind of annoying celebrity. My guy, get this guy off of my TV set. Really, I really cannot stomach Baron Corbin. He is very annoying, aggravating, and a fucking dildo. So they have another segment when they get back from break with Liv Morgan. She's talking about how she is determined to never quit, even though the match she had with Charlotte Flair a couple of weeks ago was a loss on her record. She is not going to quit and give up on the fact of trying to become a women's champion on Raw. What the fuck you do? So we get Charlotte Flair to come out. Oh, God, help me. This was fucking terrible. Really, this was just fucking garbage. I don't like anything that's going on here. This whole show is boring. You can hear in my voice I feel bored from just reiterating what happened on this show. This was terrible. So there was this point in time while she's walking up the ring that Phillips goes about stating that Charlotte Flair is the hardest working woman in the wrestling world today. How dare Tom Phillips says some bullshit like that? How can Vincent McMahon say something like that? She is not the most hardworking woman in the wrestling world. Why? Because she's competing on 3 different brands and standing there blabbering her mouth off most of the time, and if she does have a match, it lasts 5 minutes? Get the fuck out of here. I can name a few who work harder. Try Tessa Blanchard, for example. She's fucking wrestling men, for God's sakes. If that ain't hard work, I don't know what the hell is. I mean, she's working against the opposite sex who are bigger, stronger than her, and she's putting on good matches with them, and yet Charlotte Flair is having matches with fucking other women, and most of the time not even really wrestling at all, just blabbering her mouth off. For example, she starts off stating that she doesn't want to bore us with the same thing she always says, but goes off listing them anyway, which I found absolutely annoying. I will state this, I am starting to hate Charlotte Flair more and more each and every week watching the show on a regular basis now. It just comes across worse than Roman Reigns. I mean, Charlotte calls out Ruby Riott because she has made comments about her on social media as well, and we have the matchup between Charlotte Flair and Ruby Riott. Ruby Riott never had a chance against Charlotte Flair. This wasn't a squash match, but it didn't seem like she would win this match at all, which she didn't. She ended up losing the match by a figure 8, and that was it. So backstage, Lashley was interviewed, and MVP interrupts. He states some things he said some things that struck a nerve to Bobby Lashley. This is all happening way too fast and not gradually being built for Bobby Lashley getting a title shot, which later on you'll see what happens on the show through my review here. So I have a strange feeling, pretty much like I mentioned, that he's instantly will face McIntyre right off the bat. And that's what I state in these notes here. So we get a segment where the axe throwing contest between the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. My God, how many fucking segments can you have of the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits? Last week's episode with the basketball competition, it was like 2 or 3 segments and that's it. And they were pretty much all together throughout that segment. This was all spread out throughout the entire show, and it was about 3 or 4 fucking segments of this shit. And it was garbage. God awful garbage. So the Viking Raiders offer the Street Profits the smoke, since they're always looking for the smoke. Montez Ford states that's not kind of the smoke we're talking about, and the smoke that they had was a campfire. And that's what they offer them as a present. And Dawkins says, shut up because you don't deny a gift from a bunch of Vikings with axes, which I found ridiculous because they weren't real axes. Basically, I'd have to say that was a lame-ass load of shit segment. But I will say this, I did laugh when they offered them the smoke. That I will say. That was funny. I did enjoy that portion of the segment. I thought that was funny. But other than that, the rest of it was just over the top ridiculous. Asuka celebrates her crowning of the Women's Championship and has mentioned that she is a Grand Slam champion by Kairi Sane. And out comes Nia Jax, which I don't know what is worse, her coming out or the celebration that we were seeing with Kairi Sane and Asuka, which was cringeworthy to the max. Jax mentions the winning of Asuka's wasn't a real achievement and will be a transitional champion on top of that. So Asuka didn't take those comments well and she attacked her. And that's pretty normal way of dealing with something, especially if someone's being a dick to you. Corbin is asked if he is worried about his match with McIntyre. He says no, because he can make... I messed up what I wrote here, but basically he's saying that Drew McIntyre can make mistakes, and he will look to take advantage of those mistakes. But yeah, sure, Corbin, like you did on SmackDown against Elias, like where the hell is the logic here? And really, honestly, where is the logic here? I just don't understand this. Elias won by pure distraction, and I mentioned this on my SmackDown review for that matchup, that Corbin in multiple different occasions was sidetracked talking and getting distracted by other things around the ring, which was fucking retarded, and yet he ends up losing. Yet he's going on here talking about how he's going to take advantage of mistakes that Drew McIntyre makes during a match. Sure, he's going to do that. Right on, Corbin. You're great. You're fantastic. Hey, Lashley versus Truth. Why this happens, I have no fucking idea, and why this is taking place, I don't know. Lashley's already destroyed R-Truth. Lashley has beaten Humberto Carrillo. Lashley has defeated everyone in his path between these two fuckheads. Why not get him a more suitable opponent that they could put him up against and make him more believable as a challenger for a WWE title if they're going forth with doing that? This match was very, very short. Lashley wins with a full Nelson and just another trashy match, which is why we call him Trashly Lashley. I mean, JD is definitely giving him that slogan, and I totally agree with that. His matches are bullshit. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that is building Lashley up, in my opinion, as a believable challenger for the WWE title. No way in hell. Definitely not. So Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Iconics for the tag team titles. This match sucked. This match just plain sucked. Thank God it was short. I'll just be honest with you on that. And the Iconics get disqualified for not listening to the referee. And that's all there was to it. So Kairi Zane's backstage playing on a flute. Jax sneaks behind her and throws her into a production case. To me, it looks like Jax may have gave her another concussion. Jax doesn't belong. I'll be honest with you. Jax doesn't belong in any wrestling promotion, and this has been stated by other, YouTubers. The exact same thing. Back from the break, Asuka attacks Jax backstage and gets even for the attack on her best friend. So Baszler versus Natalya in a submission match. Another short match, but Baszler wins this match by a rear naked choke. And it's not as good as it was last week. Not a lot of good technical wrestling, and this was a submission match, for God's sake. You would have thought this would have been better than the week before. Honestly, can this show really produce any fucking good matches? I mean, Natalya is throwing a hissy fit, plus destroys Kevin Owens' set for his KO show. And then Andrade, Garza, and Austin Theory are all fighting like they have been for the last few weeks. Zelina Vega takes control of the situation, acting like she's a mother of 3 children. Don't quite understand why the hell she's acting like she's a gosh darn general or a mother. The thing that's ridiculous that she has to take control of her own team when her team are a bunch of grown men that should be able to take care of themselves. So on to the KO show segment. He explains why he has not been out. He was out because of injury. He has Andrade, Garza, and Theory as his guests, and Zelina Vega hypes her group and is upset with people assuming that they are falling apart because of one argument. She asked Owens why is he disrespecting them standing on the side of the ring, and he states the reason is because Apollo Crews is my other guest, and he attacked Andrade and a brawl breaks out. So what do we get? Of course, a tag team match. Owens and Crews versus Andrade and Garza. Crews picks up a victory for his team thanks to a miscue by Theory hitting Garza by accident. Theory ends up getting beaten up by Garza and Andrade, and he is pretty much kicked out of the team, which they never even have a name for their faction, which I thought was absolutely fucking ridiculous. So Drew McIntyre is interviewed about his match now, and he talks about how much fun he is having on Raw. Gee, I wish I was having fun watching this piece of shit show, but I'm not. He also states that he will destroy King Corbin with a Claymore kick. Big whoop. So axe throwing contest is the next thing. This is the second time we get to see this freaking segment. Eric states to Montez Ford that it is normal to have anxiety performance issues, and says he doesn't, and shakes his hips and throws the axe into the air, not coming close to his target. What is this shit? Does WWE like to torture their audience? Because I swear to God, I felt like I was being tortured for 5 fucking hours, and it was only 3. This show felt like it went on forever. Really. So we come back from commercial break and we're doing some more bullshit. Dawkins does his turn and throws the axe behind him, hitting a barrel of water, which pissed off the other Vikings. Very lame segment, gotta admit. So next thing on the card is Black versus Murphy. Murphy having his second match of the night. Match ends by DQ. Seth has Austin Theory to attack Black, and now Theory is a disciple to Rollins. So a beating is delivered to Black, and I personally like that Theory is with Rollins and Murphy. I think it makes a good trio, and I hope that they do right by Theory in this faction, because honestly, he does fit the mold with Seth Rollins. I feel that is his right place. With Garza and Andrade, I don't think they needed him in that group. Not because he was Hispanic, he wasn't Hispanic or something like that. he just didn't feel part of something like that. He doesn't share the same wrestling style as they do. Austin Theory is more of a Buddy Murphy and Seth Rollins type wrestler. So I think his wrestling style really blends well with them than with Andrade and Garza. Andrade and Garza have more of the similar characteristics of how they wrestle in the ring. They're not acrobats. They don't do any extreme crazy stuff off the ropes or anything like that. They're good, decent wrestlers on the mat. They're not like acrobats. So I think the switch with him going to the faction of Seth Rollins, I think would work out a lot better in his favor. So after the match is over, we go back to this bullshit again with, oh my god, with this axe throwing shit. 10 of the throws of the axes by the Viking Raiders connect their target, while the Street Profits don't hit but one target. Very much similar to the basketball scenario. We go to commercial, we come back. We're doing another segment. I think this is about the fourth time we get to see this segment. And we see cops coming with an axe in their window. And they don't know why. There's an axe in their window. And they want to know who did it. No one raises their hand and admits that they did it. And Angelo Dawkins, he grabs an axe and he tries to prove that he didn't do it. And he throws it backwards and connects and hits his target. Very similar to the basketball situation that the Viking Raiders did with the Street Profits. So no creativity, no difference in the segments that they did in those competitions. The only difference is they flip the roles in reverse, and that's all. Big whoop. Very creative. WWE. Good stuff, good stuff. Drew McIntyre versus Baron Corbin, which is the main event. McIntyre wins with the Claymore kick. The match was okay, but not great. Lashley also mentions he is giving him a heads up that he is going after the WWE Championship. Folks, this was the biggest load of crap I have ever seen in my life. Really. This was full-on garbage. Why in the hell would Lashley get a shot when he hasn't faced a big opponent? I don't get it. What I'm also very fearful of, and a lot of people are saying, oh, what about Jinder Mahal versus Drew McIntyre after Bobby Lashley gets a shot for the title and McIntyre retains it, and these are the two big opponents he has in the summer, and he faces Jinder Mahal at SummerSlam. I can imagine something even worse than that. Now, I mean, him facing Bobby Lashley and Jinder Mahal throughout the entire summer as WWE Champion is horrendously horrible. I will admit that. But I can think of something even worse than that. Bobby Lashley beats Drew McIntyre. Jinder Mahal doesn't get a title shot. And they do all of that. They get Drew McIntyre to drop the title of Bobby Lashley only so that they can have at SummerSlam Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. How fucking horrible would that be? Leave your comments down below on that one. Because I'm really frightened about that. I am scared shitless that Vince McMahon would take the title off of Bobby Lashley so he can go ahead and make Bobby Lashley defend the WWE title at the SummerSlam pay-per-view against Brock Lesnar. God help us all if that happens. If that happens, I can't do these reviews anymore. I can't. I cannot watch WWE's main programming. I can deal with so much of this shit. I like what they're doing with Drew McIntyre. He is demolishing everyone and making him look like a badass. But when you have Drew McIntyre go up against Bobby Lashley, you make him drop the title after only a couple of months of being a champion, And then he goes on to lose it to Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley faces Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. That is a crock of shit. I absolutely would hate that if it happens, and if it does, good riddance to WWE. I don't know if I could deal with this shit anymore. This is garbage beyond garbage. This is shit you put in a fucking dumpster fire and you light it on fire and watch that bitch burn. Because this is horrible. They need to change the slogan of Raw from Raw to Bubblegum Wrestling. Because this is crap beyond belief. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say at this time. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button if you like this video. And hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And I thank you very much for watching. Have a great night, guys. Bye.